right, let's shift our attention to Nigerian politics, where the women's wing of All Progressives Congress trooped out in their numbers on Wednesday here in Lagos during a rally organized to drum up support for the party's presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, and Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. It turned out to be a watershed moment for a lot of the participants, particularly with the event coming in the wake of Tinubu's appearance at Chatham House in London, where he spoke about the critical aspects of his manifesto. Dr. Betta is APC's national women leader, and she joins us now to look at those two events and how they might affect the party's chances during the forthcoming election. Many thanks for being here. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get straight into it. Now, you were present at Chatham House, and you were one of the people who was called upon to answer a question on behalf of the presidential candidate. Now, we all know that this strategy or style of responding to interrogation has earned itself a lot of negative backlash from people who watched it. Now, I'm curious to know, do you feel that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu delegating the responsibility, of answering questions took away from the message that he was trying to deliver on that day?
I think Asiwaju Bola Tinubu was very clear when he took over 25 minutes to state on a global stage his plans, his action plan, and indeed the implementation for the Africa largest, I would want to say, most populated country in terms of numbers, Nigeria. He was very clear on what he wants to do in the various sectors in Nigeria, and this speech lasted for over 20 minutes. After that speech, when he was asked various questions, even after delegating, he would always end by still adding to whatever anyone spoke. But I think it was really very irritating and somewhat very funny to hear backlash of people saying that he shouldn't have delegated to his team. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is a team player. Nigeria do not want a one-man show. Nigeria is a country with over 200 million persons. It's beyond one man. He needs to put together a formidable team to be able to run government and deliver to people the dividends of democracy. And that's what he has always done. Lagos State's plan that we have all come to see and love and appreciate, and today we can say it's either the 5th or the 3rd largest economy in Africa, was actually put together by a team, not just one man. He's just a leader, the leader of the team that puts together the right people that would help in governance. But more importantly, I want us to check out from the president of the United States to the UK, name it. All of them, when they go to meetings, they go with their teams and they can delegate, and then whatever it is that the team has probably not said enough, they add on top of it. And that's exactly what Asiwaju Bola Tinubu did that day. On every single question, he also made his own input in addition to what his team members said. But that ability to trust people, to delegate, to see it beyond a one-man's show, but a team fixing Nigeria, I think that was highly commendable, and Nigerians should indeed be glad they have a leader coming forward that can delegate and trust people to run the government alongside himself with the right leadership and the right mentoring.
And Dr. Edu, I think the quality of the team and the size and their backgrounds, it is quite commendable. Just like you said, we're watching and we're seeing that Tinubu is engaging himself with individuals who are more versed in certain aspects of the economy and healthcare, etc., than he is. But I do want to to mention that the political affairs analyst who actually chaired Tinubu's Chatham House appearance, he was the one that came out to make statements that it was quite different. I know Nigerians are commenting about it as well, but he himself said that it was his first time in his career that he had seen a situation where the presidential candidate aspirant, who normally should be selling himself to the country and internationally, is instead choosing to distribute simple questions to people sat in the audience on his behalf. And he said it was absurd, very absurd, and a red flag. But I just wanted to mention that because it seemed as though that the backlash was one-sided, and it, more people have other things to say about the way that interview was conducted. But I don't want to flog that dead horse. Of course, there are some positives. You yourself, you are here for the national.
For Nigerians.
You are one of the youngest female representatives in government. We know that you are now the national women's leader. So could you talk to us about what the APC's, what exactly does your role entail? What is it that you're trying to communicate to Nigerians about the way that the APC will be organizing and fielding the talents of women in the coming years, and also how you plan to leave your mark in this role as someone who is part of the youth?
I think, first of all, my key role is to see that we get more women involved in politics. I know you are very well vested with the fact that the Nigerian woman traditionally has not really played a huge role. I would want to say we've played less than a 40% role in representation as it concerns politics in Nigeria. And it's high time that we have that numbers. Of course, it's important for my office to be able to get women interested in politics, get them to see the reason why they must get involved to contribute their own quota to nation development, why they should be at the front burner of building a nation like Nigeria. And this is what we've been doing over the last 7 months since I got into office as the APC National Women Leader. Some very critical changes have happened, and we're glad that we're beginning to see the results. But I know as we go forward, we'll get better results by the day. The first of it was the fact that we were able to have a legislative change, a constitutional change in the party, where we have more women as delegates at the grassroots level, compulsorily. So it's not optional for you to have 5 people all being males. No, you must have 2 females out of every 5 and 1 female out of every 3. Compulsory, and that's the minimum. So we could have all 5 or we could have all 3 females if the case be. And this is what has taken us into the primaries that have seen more women emerge in elective positions. Before this time out, in the last couple of years, we've had probably about, I think the first one was 31 females that were on the ballot box for our party. At another point, it was about 23 females across the country that were on the ballot box for our party. First, we're able to give forms out free of charge just to get more persons interested and get more persons linked into the entire political space, which women turned out in their numbers. And they went through the primaries process, having more women as delegates, more women emerged. Today, we can boast of close to 95 women running across the entire country on our own ticket as APC. No other party in Nigeria can boast of that, I make bold to say. Beyond this, we're not just looking at only becoming candidates, but we want them to emerge as real office holders. That way, at the National Assembly, they can be able to push for bills and support gender-sensitive bills, ensuring that women are given the right place in the whole sphere of politics. Beyond this, right, we have been able to work with our presidential candidates and indeed the party manifesto to see that more women are accommodated in appointments as the new government comes into being. So we are also asking for the 35% affirmation, which has been promised by Bola Tinubu that he will do even beyond 35. 35% is the minimum, both in the Federal Executive Council, in board appointments, employment opportunities across, welfare programs and interventions would directly target women and vulnerables. This is his commitment as our presidential candidate. He's done it before in Lagos, where he ran with a female for the first time. It was new to the entire system, and it has become the trend over time. He did it when he appointed the first female head of service in Lagos State. He did it when he appointed the head of the legislation in Lagos State as a female. He was the one who was was very instrumental to that happening. So this is a trend. And of course, you know his wife, she's a 3 times sitting senator. This is not just about saying it should be me and me all the time. No, he's projected women, he's worked for them, he's worked with them, and he understands the role they bring to the table. He understands the value they bring to the table, and is ready, very ready to harness this going forward. So for us in APC, we are all about mainstreaming the women and ensuring that we are the front burner of governance, front burner of leadership, front burner of implementation of policies, front burner as it concerns direct interventions at the grassroots.
All right. Now, when we think about women in integration and involvement in Nigerian politics, we know that one of the challenges, one of the biggest hindrances is intimidation, violence throughout the campaign period and from the grassroots. Now, one document that has been put together to try and dissuade this from happening and make sure it doesn't happen is the Peace Accord. One of the tenets of the Peace Accord is, of course, to ensure peaceful, free and fair elections. However, your principal is yet to sign the Peace Accord, and this is 70 days after other candidates have signed it. We understand he sent his vice, but the National Peace Commission have said that this is not a document that can be signed by vice presidential candidates. Presidential candidates themselves need to come and sign and acknowledge that they respect the tenets of the Peace Accord. When will Bola Tinubu be signing the Peace Accord?
Well, of course, I'm sure you know very well that on the day the Peace Accord was signed, the vice presidential candidate was present, and indeed the entire party system, including the chairman of the party, were all present at that event, and they all took part in the signing. To say the presidential candidate of our party must come in person, that's not a big deal, and I'm sure he's happy to sign it any day, anytime. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, like we all know, is a man of peace. Is a man who is rather ready to think and work rather than fight or struggle. He's one person who is a very, very peaceful person and will follow peace. He stands for a peaceful election. He stands for a violence-free election. He stands for a credible election. And we are very confident that INEC and indeed everyone who is involved in the Peace Accord can get that signed as soon as possible. And Nigerians can know that we're fully behind peace for the 2023 general elections.
Okay, because the National Peace Committee have come out to say that they have been expecting him and they've been waiting for him to come and do that, but he has not shown up yet. So we're wondering, if this is such a high priority, why has this still not happened 70 days after, he had traveled, but it's been 70 days and he's been back in the country since then?
So he wasn't around in the country, like you very well noted, while this was going on. Of course, he had other engagements which were already fixed before this came up, and that's why he sent in representations. Of course, he'll be back into the country very soon. And like I said, it's really absolutely no big deal. He's happy to sign a peace accord any day, anytime. Nigeria needs peace, and he would always stand for peace, security, and indeed an end to electoral violence. Violence can never in any way help our country. And we, as a party, APC, our presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will never, in the least of ways, encourage violence.
Well, we look forward to his signing the Peace Accord. I'm sure there will be many reminders from now going forward. But I want to talk about this 35% affirmative action that you mentioned earlier. But your principal, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is seen as an innovator, especially with the way that he is championing women, as you said, and you're the national women's leader. On his ticket, though, I'm sure a lot of people would have preferred to have seen a female vice presidential candidate rather than another Muslim on the ticket. But that's an aside. The 35% affirmative action, What steps exactly will be taken by the APC government regarding the National Assembly and other stakeholders to finally implement, because there's a lot of discussion about everything else, but the implementation of this, just you were mentioning earlier that there are a few women in there. There are 19 out of the 469 legislators are female. What will be done differently to make sure that women are given the audience that they deserve in government?
So, in the first place, the president, during the flag off of the women's campaign team for Tinubu Shetima 2023, the president in his speech said that he is not done and over with the issue of getting the gender bills go through the House. He said it very clearly that the Minister for Women Affairs, working with the Attorney General of the Federation and, of course, the wife of the president, should see how that can be put together and returned to the House to ensure it is passed before his administration is over. I'm sure you remember, proud to this time, the House of Representatives Speaker has spoken very clearly, stating that he is ready to reconsider some of those gender-sensitive bills and really encourage women. But, you know, beyond this, the most important aspect is to ensure that we have more women in the National Assembly, more women in the National Assembly. And that's what our party, APC, is doing. If we have more women that can lobby, they can liaise with their colleagues, speak to their colleagues, and the rest of it, tell them the importance on why these bills should be passed and fully implemented in Nigeria, then women will get better representation. Our voices will be heard louder than it is presently, with just about 19 females in the National Assembly. And so, as a party, we have given more women tickets to go to the National Assembly, and we're hopeful that they would go from being candidates to emerging victorious at the next poll. Beyond that, it's not enough to have the legislation to say 35% affirmative action. It's also important to have a government that has that political will to implement it in every single sector or area at all costs. So at the FEC, how many women do we have? 35% representation. In appointments into board, parastatus, MDAs, do we have 35% representation? When you're talking about employment in the different sectors, are we looking at females having 35%? Even when you come to things like contracts, are you giving to females? These are ways women are empowered. If women are financially empowered, remember, one of the things which have held us back from being actively involved in politics is the fact that they will tell you we don't have enough money like our male counterparts to run for elections. Elections are capital intensive, whether you believe it or not. You need to print posters, you need to be out there, you need to do TV jingles, and the rest of it. You need to go door to door to campaign. All of those logistics, they all take money. You need to get agents to the different places where they would protect your vote. So women shy away because they don't have that funding. They're not financially empowered to go that far like their male counterparts. But Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his action plan, and of course the party manifesto, states clearly how all of this will come to play. And he has that political will. He's shown it in Lagos, and he can even do more in Nigeria to see that women are empowered, so that when we're coming for the next general elections, we won't even be talking of 95 candidates. We should be talking of at least minimum 200 candidates on the ballot that are women ready to take up these positions and contribute their own quota to the development of Nigeria.
All right, now talking about the general elections, Dr. Betta, your candidate and the APC national spokesperson at separate occasions have expressed their concern about the inclusion of technology, the use of BVAS and IREV in the upcoming election. They both have various concerns, but it was more about worries about INEC's preparedness for the big move to include such technology. Now, I'm curious to know what the APC's current position is regarding the use of course, INEC has said that there's no turning back. We're going to use BVAS. The results will be transmitted live via IREV. So I'm curious to know whether the APC has built any confidence in the system, and if not, what steps is the APC planning to take to build confidence in the system that will ultimately determine who will govern Nigeria next?
So what APC as a party is demanding is a free and fair elections. We have the best candidate on the ballot for 2023 general elections, and we're confident and positive that we'll win the elections. We just want the entire process to be free, fair, and actually credible, and that's what we're demanding. INEC has come forward with the new technology, and we welcome it. Nigeria as a country welcomes it. If we must strengthen our democracy, we must do it in such a way that anyone who wins knows he won. If you lost, you know you lost, and you go back and prepare for the next election to see when you can try again, isn't it? So for us as a party, APC, we just need to be sure, we need to be very sure that this system doesn't have any issues or would not have any challenges as we roll it out for the entire country to depend on it to vote in the next set of leaders. No one wants to be cheated out. No one wants to be played out. No one wants to lose because of technicalities that should not be in the first place. And that's why everyone is expressing that concern to say, let's get better. We trust you, INEC, but we need you to give everyone the confidence as we go into the elections. INEC has had several engagements with the public, which I must commend them for. And APC as a party, we have always been part of the INEC engagement when they try to explain different processes. They try to explain the beavers and other processes, the electoral processes. We appreciate that. We want to have more of that. And indeed, the public too needs to have more of that so that they know how best to conform to the technology INEC is putting on the table. That way, no one is disenfranchised. That way, we can go all happy, go out and vote. Remember, sometimes when you have violence occurs when people believe that they've been disenfranchised. And rather than find more appropriate ways to really take this on, they resort to vices that should not be. So while we're trying to sign a peace accord, while we're trying to guard against electoral violence, they must be informed so that they are not disenfranchised on the basis of technology. And so for us as a party, APC, we welcome technology. We're happy with it. All we want to do is to get the right information out there to our supporters so that they know what to do, when to do it, when to be at the polling unit, what is expected of them, and they can conform to the system, and we get our results out just the way we have worked hard enough for it without it being tampered or altered. That's all we're looking for.
Well, APC National Women's Leader, Dr. Betta Edu, thank you so much for joining this discussion this afternoon.